Well, as we mentioned, state lawmakers are now getting involved following the Noblesville school shooting. As we have told you, prosecutors are charging the 13-year-old suspected shooter of doing the shooting as a juvenile.
Now, in the last few hours, we're learning tonight that legislators are looking very closely into the state law. In fact, House Speaker Brian Bosma released a statement tonight that reads, "In light of the Noblesville West Middle School incident and the recent charges brought against the shooter, we are reviewing current state law in regards to juveniles being charged as adults. Given the heinous acts that led to a teacher and a student being seriously harmed, I think it's important for us to take a thoughtful look at our criminal code and whether changes to the law are appropriate." And as lawmakers now look into state law, we're digging really closely into the court documents tonight.
And they're giving us some new insights about the shooting and all the weapons involved, plus the reasons for keeping the case in juvenile court. Rich Van Wyk has details, as well as reaction from the folks in Noblesville. Rich?
John, we now know how heavily armed this 13-year-old allegedly was as he went to school that morning. We've also learned that this case is destined for juvenile court. For people here, many of them, it's a relief. To others, it's kind of scary. The 13-year-old, according to court documents, was well armed. He came to Noblesville West Middle School with a .25 caliber pistol and a much larger, more powerful .45 caliber handgun, as well as a knife. He's accused of nearly killing classmate Ella Whistler and seriously injuring his teacher, Jason Seaman. Dawn Bell's son is a student at the middle school.
If he was able to have that many rounds shoot off and be able to have two guns, he should be responsible for that. He knew what he was doing. That
will be up for a juvenile judge to decide. Despite the severity of the crime, Hamilton County's prosecutor said Indiana law prevents him from charging a 13-year-old as an adult in criminal court. A revelation that shocked and scared Maggie Keller.
By being charged as a child, he's not going to get the punishment that he deserves.
The young teenager is accused of crimes that, if filed against an adult, would include multiple counts of attempted murder, aggravated battery, battery by means of a deadly weapon, and possession of a firearm on school property. Hallie Brake's sister goes to the middle school.
I believe that it's the actions of an adult, but I don't necessarily know if he should actually be charged as one.
Everyone we spoke with on Noblesville's town square, like John McMahon, said it's a tough call.
If he's not in prison the rest of his life, maybe he could turn it around and do something positive with his life and have a chance in the world, rather than rotting away in a prison cell.
Marin Thomas graduated from Noblesville High School last night.
The only way we're ever going to fight evil in this world is with more compassion. And I don't know, it's hard to have an answer for this because it's still pretty raw.
In fact, some of the people we tried to talk to today said they just couldn't talk about it. There are huge differences between the juvenile justice system and what's called the adult court, the criminal court system. The crimes committed at the middle school, if charged in adult court, could put an adult in prison for decades. A juvenile, though, would be facing only a few years of incarceration. We'll take a closer look at that at 6 o'clock. John and Andrea?
All right, there's a lot of debate still out there tonight. Rich, thank you.
And we're also hearing tonight from the suspected shooter's family through their attorney.
And tonight at 5 o'clock, our own Scott Swan is here tonight here in the studio with more on that side of the story. Scott.
Yeah, the statement came out today after the prosecutor made a move with his filing. In it, a message to the victims and a request. The statement starts out, "Our firm and our client's family are still in shock over the events that morning." It goes on to say, "Our thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to those involved, including Ella, Mr. Seaman, all the students and staff of the Noblesville school community, and their families and friends." Now, the statement goes on to say they understand there are unanswered questions, but they'll wait for the outcome of this investigation before talking publicly, and they do ask for patience and privacy. Now, the statement also thanks the heroic first responders on the scene who provided aid and support, including Mr. Seaman and all the teachers of Noblesville West Middle School. Now, we wanted to take a moment to share with you that this story has been a big topic of discussion and debate in our newsroom about whether or not to name that 13-year-old suspect in our coverage.
In fact, it is really our station policy to not name minors who are involved in crimes unless they are charged as an adult. And in this instance, however, it was a very public shooting in a very public place with a lot of public discussion. Admittedly, it is a very tough call for all of us.
So we sought out guidance from legal experts, journalism ethicists, and crime victims to help us in our decision making. And as a result, we came away with the stance to remain in line with our policy not to name him and to let the legal proceedings play out.
Our mission here at Channel 13 is to maintain high ethical standards and to affirm with you that we're taking great care in reporting this story.
Thank you, Scott. And you can follow along with the developments in this case and look back at our past stories at our website, WTHR.com/Noblesville shooting. There we also have links to the GoFundMe pages for the victims, teacher Jason Seaman, and the student Ella Whistler.